Hello everyone, it's 8 o'clock on a Monday evening and it's time for episode 65 of Wilson Waffling Live. Run titles. Hello everyone, hello, it's 8 o'clock on a Monday evening and I'm here at Wilson Waffling Live. Nice to have you along, hope you're all doing fine. You might have to turn your volume down a little bit because I think my mic's a little bit loud tonight, but sorry if I deafened you there. Welcome to this week's show, and on a Monday night as usual at 8 o'clock, and thank you for coming along. Now, remember, this is a piece of information given, but it's also a bit of an interactive show. So please make sure that you get in touch with me in a variety of ways. So first of all, if you are watching on YouTube, then there is, of course, the YouTube chat window that should just be off to sort of like there somewhere, or is it there? No, over there somewhere. I think it'll be over there. So by all means you can type in there and that'll come up on my screen. That's over there. I'll see that at the same time. So if you have any comments throughout the show or any questions, then please feel free to just type it in there. Alternatively, if you wish, you can contact me on Twitter and you can just tweet me any questions that you have or comments at iwilsonysj. And alternatively, if you are a waffler on wilsonwaffling.co.uk, then of course the chat room is open over there, so by all means nipple on and come along and have a chat in there. So there's plenty of places that you can actually come and have a chat with me or comment throughout the show. I'm quite excited because we've never had this many people actually watching. We currently have 6 people watching, which is absolutely fantastic. Hello, 6 people. So what can you expect on tonight's show? Well, the first thing is we are going to have the usual sort of segment. So we have got coming up pretty soon tweets of the week. So this is when I look at my timeline on Twitter and I share with you some of the wonderful things that I've seen. And this week we've got some World Book Day pictures, and we've got some phonics games, and we've even got a couple of videos. Fingers crossed that they actually work tonight. Fingers crossed. We're then going to have the website Roundup, which is when I look at 3 or 4 stories that have happened in the past week and I just tell you about them and say what I feel about them, and we give you a bit of information. We've then got the Wilson's Waffles, and these are little tidbits or top tips that we have, and during this section I will also be answering your questions as well that you have posed to us, and I've got one of those already, so I'm going to be engaging with that. And this week it's all about working with TAs. And then finally, right at the end, we are going to have the Ask Waffling Wilson segment of the show, and this is when you can ask me any question you want. It doesn't need to be on the topic. It could be absolutely any question, and I will answer them live on air on YouTube with you tonight. So let's start off, let's get things underway, and let's head over to the tweets of the week. Tweets of the week. I still need to add that. It's gone a bit dark. I do apologise because I'm just getting my phone out because it's buzzing away, and I'm just trying to see. Oh yes, that's all right. So yes, tweets of the week. So we've got some tweets to look through and to share with you. So first things first, the first thing that we need to look at, let me just sort this out, is the first thing that we have to say is that throughout the week it was World Book Day last Wednesday, and obviously our students weren't, some of them were in school, but our first years weren't in school. So what we decided to do was to actually get them to impose themselves or imprint themselves on famous book covers and to change their profile pictures. So here we have some of the attempts. So this first one is from Olivia. Here's Olivia's there, and you can see that she's imposed quite a few of her friends there, I think, as well. Ron looks particularly scary there. And she said, "I've worked my magic on this week's English Soul task." And you can see then there the Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Not my favourite Harry Potter. Oh, actually, is it Prisoner of Azkaban? I think it's Prisoner of Azkaban I prefer, but I'm not too sure. I like the... Oh, I do. I think it is the Order of the Phoenix that I like, when all the other wizards come in, when they're sort of like a wizard, they're all on their broomstick. So just on this topic, let's just see whether or not we can see what people are like. Sorry, it's a bit dark with this because I've got no light on my face, but if I did that, you sort of think, oh wow, he's a lot brighter, but then I go again, so you'll just have to live with it. So if you're in the chat at the moment, then what I would like you to do is just in the chat tell me what your favorite Harry Potter book is. Let's get some interaction going, either in the chat room or in the comments, just sort of like over there. I think they're over there. So like down there somewhere, and I'm looking at that on my other screen. So this was Olivia's superimposing of their faces on a Harry Potter book. So I presume that her favourite book is The Order of the Phoenix. And this one, we have Lizzie here. She's a bit small on there, but you can tell that she's taking over. She's taking over Matilda there. There's Matilda. So thank you. That was a nice one from Lizzie. And this one is, let me find it. This one is from Rachel, The Man on the Moon. And The Man on the Moon there. You can see Rachel in there with a very stylish ginger hair there. I must say that's very stylish. Okay, and we've got our first comment from Twitter, our first comment from the chat room on YouTube. And remember, I'm just asking you just to start the conversation up, which is your favorite Harry Potter book? Which is your favourite Harry Potter book? And we've got, Charlotte has come straight in with the first one, which I think was the Philosopher's Stone. Was that right, Charlotte? I think it was. And it's definitely the Philosopher's Stone for Charlotte. And Joe's just come into the conversation now, and Joe says, never watched or seen any of them. Which one should I start with, or do I have to start from? You have to start from the beginning. Joe, and I would definitely read them before watching them. I don't know what other people will say about that, but I would definitely read them before watching them. Now, the next book here is from Laura. This is from Laura, and it's a wonderful book. I don't know whether or not this is a book, but I suppose it is. But I really like this story and this film particularly because it is, of course, The Wizard of Oz there. And if you like musicals, then remember on a Friday night at 6 o'clock, I do, on my radio station, I do a radio show called Musical Night. And I aptly call it Friday Night is Musical Night. And in a couple of weeks, the musicals are going to be The Wizard of Oz and Wicked. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, not to be outdone by the ladies on the course, the blokes joined in as well. So here we have Vinny being Biggles. And I really like this one because he actually has demonstrated Biggles the Air Detective. and I like the way that he's put his own picture next to the actual Biggles detective. And also we have Alfie, who also came in as Harry Potter. He was a little bit late with his outside the World Book Day, but here he is with his Oompa Loompas there, and that is Alfie as Willy Wonka there. So I must admit, I saw some fantastic costumes on Facebook as well, so, and across the schools in all across the country. So well done everybody who participated in the day. Now then, we're going to try something a little bit different now, because I would like to show you a video. Now, just to let you see what fun and games we get up to, this is a tweet that was sent in by Molly, and it was sent in by Molly, and this was some group 5, I think this is, who were actually enjoying some music about My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. So what I'm going to try to do now, and fingers crossed, I'm actually going to try to play the video. So wish me luck. My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. Here we go. Absolutely fantastic. Now I'm not too sure whether or not you could even hear that, but I think my microphone was going up and down. Hang on, let's have a listen. Yeah, I think you could hear it. I just had a sneaky preview. Group 5 doing their wonderful My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean, and standing up every time you heard a peek at the previous the stream there, and lo and behold, I think you could see it. So that was the letter B. Now, just while we're on the topic of videos, I also have to remind you that Sunday was Mother's Day, and I actually managed, you might have noticed if you follow me on Twitter, I'm quite into Vines at the moment. I'm getting really excited about Vines. So I actually did a Vine with my mom, and I don't know whether or not I can actually put the do. So this is actually my mom, and I think you're going to have to suffer this full screen. You might just have to let's see if I can zoom in. I've zoomed in a bit. Let's see what we all the adverts on the corner, but here we go. Here is my mom, okay, and me doing a Vine for Mother's Day. Here we go.
Hello.
I found my mummy. No, it's my turn to talk.
Hello.
I found my mummy. No, it's my turn to talk.
That was me and my mom. That was me and my mom on Twitter. I managed to persuade her to be in the Vine video, and then she went and talked exactly when I wanted to talk, which I wasn't too chuffed about. Anyway, let's move on back to the tweet of the week there. And the other thing that's been happening this week is that the first years are going out and about doing their phonics game. So if you're a second or third year listening to this, then you might be you might remember that you did some phonics games. Well, now this is the week that the first years are coming out. So I wanted to share some of them that have been put onto Twitter recently. So this one here is Sally Ann's, and this one is quite remarkable. I think what actually happens if you turn the knob there, I think the words fall down and come down into the little gap below, and I think that's quite remarkable. Absolutely quite remarkable, that one. We've also got one, this is like a space age game. This is a space age game from Jessica, I think it is, and Jessica's done this, the English phonics game. What do you think? I think when I've captured this, it's got a bit of a sheen on, so I do apologise for that, Jessica, but or Jess, sorry. But I hopefully that's all right. So that's a good phonics game, and if you're watching online, then I hope you're getting some ideas for phonics game and activities in school here. And this one is from Claire, and this is their pirate treasure hunt today for placement. Each gold coin was a phase 5 word, so they had to go hunting for treasure there. So some really good ideas there for literacy and phonics. I feel like we're having it's a bit of a literacy week this week rather than maths or science or anything like that. So I think what I need to do is that I need to put a little bit of history in here. So I saw this came up on my Twitter feed, and it's from Will. And Will here found this awesome idea for history. And it's actually, although you can't see it from the actual picture, but because it's a bit small, but you could go and have a look. This is actually the Colosseum made out of custard creams. How ingenious is that? The Colosseum made out of custard creams. Now, I must admit that Will and I had a slight bit of a conversation after this on Twitter, because we actually got it. I actually adore custard creams. I think they're yummy, and there tends to be the one that's always left because people don't like them. But I adore custard creams, and I was saying that it probably not the best thing for me to do, because it'll be sort of like one for me, one for the Colosseum, one for me. And we actually got into ratios and probabilities, because we sort of said really maybe it'd be 3 to 1, 3 custard creams for me, 1 for the Colosseum. But if it was bourbon biscuits, then there would be a totally different ratio, and I think that would definitely be 5 to me, 1 to the Colosseum. So a range of a nice interesting activity there for the for custard creams, if you have any custard creams. Now, just before we move off, I would just like to say thank you to the people who are watching. So here we have this tweet came in just before I about to start from Alex here, and you can see that she's sat there waiting, keen. I was currently offline, but I would pop up at any moment, so she's very keen there to get watching. And also, it was really nice to see that Lois here was not. She's probably listening to the show as well, but while they were working, they were listening to Wilson Waffling radio. So that was very kind of them. They were listening to a pre-recorded show, because what I did was that on a Friday, every night at 6 o'clock, you can hear the musical show that goes out again. And one of the things that I've been trying desperately to do is during one of my shows is to get into double figures. And I was so pleased that they tweeted me this picture, and I don't know if you can see it, but if you look really closely, it actually says 11 current listeners, 11. So I actually managed to get into double figures. So that's a great achievement for me, guys, a great achievement for me. So thank you to everybody who was actually listening to that show. Of course, one of my next great achievements will be to get into double figures on a live show. That would be fantastic. So we currently have 7 people busy watching us. So thank you, and hello to you 7 people on YouTube. It's great to have you along with me tonight. So that, guys, was the wonderful Tweets of the Week. Tweets of the week there. So, why are we going next? Now, remember, if you'd like to get in touch with me, then you can get in touch with me in a variety of ways. You can, of course, use the chat. That's over to that side on YouTube. And thank you to the 2 people who are busy typing in there. We got Charlotte, we got Lottie actually. Lottie and Joe are busy typing away in there. And remember, what we're thinking about at the moment is which is the best book in the Harry Potter series, which is the best book in the Harry Potter series. So which one do you think we should read first? Okay, so Joe's wondering which one he should actually read first, and you might be thinking which is the favorite film, or whatever you want to message in. Which Harry Potter book is your favorite? Do you like the Chamber of Secrets with the big snake? Do you like the Philosopher's Stone, or do you like the Prisoner of Azkaban, or even the Order of the Phoenix? You decide. I'm not too keen on the last few. I find it's a bit too dark when we get up there, so I'm not too keen on those. So let's move straight on, shall we? Let's move straight on, because the next thing that we're going to be doing is looking at some of the articles or discussions that have been happening on the web pages. It is, of course, the website Roundup. So, and we've got a new commenter coming in, and Vicky says the Goblet of Fire was her favourite. Oh, now, do you know, I think I really like the Goblet of Fire. Is that when they're having the competition? Is that the one with Edward in it? Not Edward. The guy who plays Edward in Twilight. Is that the Goblet of Fire? I think I quite like that one. Is it the one when the witches and wizards come from different sort of like places and have a battle? And Gregory, what's his name? Oh, what's the guy's name? Somebody who dies in it. Somebody will tell me. Somebody dies in it, and I can't remember who it is. But I'm sure Edward from Twilight plays him. Somebody will tell me. Who dies in the Goblet of Fire, guys? So let's have a look at the website Roundup. So I've got a variety of stories to tell you and let you to discuss with you to see what you think, etc. So this is the first article that I would like to talk about, and this was in The Guardian, because I read The Guardian. Good Day at School. There's an app for that. So what this is talking about, I don't know if you use this in school, but this is talking about an application. Let me just see if I can zoom in a bit more for you. There you go. An application called Class Dojo. Okay, there's a variety of apps that do the same thing, and basically what they're talking about is an application that actually monitors the children's behavior. Well, it doesn't monitor the children's behavior. You monitor the children's behavior as a practitioner, but with an application like this, you can either give them points or take points away. And what the article is talking about is this statement here, when it says, when a child is asked by parents what they got up to at school, they probably won't confess that they've been told off in their English lesson or that they didn't do their maths homework. Now, the interesting thing about this, it actually says, and I was quite shocked at some of this, the students are here. The students can have who also have the app can see how well they're doing, and parents can see real-time updates. Really pleased about this. Really pleased about this. I think this is really popular. Really good idea, you know, promoting that communication backwards and forwards between school, but also, you know, keeping the children informed. The next bit I'm not too happy about. Lottie in the chat room has said that they use it in their placement school, which is really exciting, and Victoria said they love their monster icons. I think they have little avatars on it, but this was the bit that I was a bit concerned about, and maybe those people in the chat room can put a little bit more. Joanna, have you just seen the advert that is just sort of like up there? What was this for? University of Edinburgh? No, don't go there, don't go there. Anyway, this was the bit that I was somewhat concerned about. The points for the entire class can even be displayed on the screen during the lesson. Now, I'm a bit concerned about this, guys. I'm a bit concerned. So maybe some people can sort of like throw some light on this, because, you know, is it a case that these pictures will be up on the wall or up on the chart, and you can see who's got good reports and who's got bad reports. There was a lot of discussion in this article saying that they were really concerned about whether or not the data was secure, and I can see this, and that would worry me. It does say, somebody in the article here actually says, in most cases, schools will probably do better focusing on developing an in-school culture for good behaviour and discourage bad behaviour rather than relying on treats and rewards. But it does depend how you use it. And it says here, behaviour on this section here, let me just move up. Behaviour management systems that rely on points to incentivize children divide opinion. Some warn that they can encourage children to do their work hard in order to get a reward, while others say that every child who struggles with its behaviour risks being demotivated if they are constantly ranked behind their peers. And I can see that. I can also see quite seriously, in some cases, if this is up on the board, that children actually looking to get at the bottom rather than at the top. And I'm afraid I would be one of the children. If I was in the middle, I would be thinking, don't know what to do here. I can't go up and down. So let me go over to the chat, and excuse me while I look over to one side here. We've got this is what people have said for the chat. They love the monster. Dojo's best thing since sliced bread. That's from Joe. The app allows parents to see why they get dojos, which is a really good idea. It's not just sort of like, here, have it. They're actually saying, this is why you got it. Parents can contact the teacher too. Fantastic. So it's almost like that two-way system going backwards and forwards, which is brilliant. One of the things that I did later on in the actual article, picking up on Lottie's idea there, it actually says here that it says, but she added that the app is a useful way to send pictures of the classwork home and keep in touch with parents, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. I thought that was really, really good. There's also this part here, which I thought was another really good use of it. It says, we had mock SAT exams, but I put these in the letter home with their results and said that if they had any words that stop you or your child enjoying their half term, please send me a message. When kids are stressed, things like that are really important. I thought that is absolutely fantastic, a really good use to it. So if you would like to go and read this, there's actually 64 comments on this. I'll just find it. Look, 64 comments there. This is above my head. So I haven't actually read it. I've read it, but I haven't actually commented myself. So if you enjoy dojos, then what I'm going to do, instead of putting it in this comment, then why don't you put it in the comments on the wilsonwaffling.co.uk forum, and I'll put today's links on there, and you can go along and you can post your comments, and I'll probably nick some of your brilliant comments from the chat tonight. Vicky's has said the children get quite competitive too, asking how many everyone has. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Just what we were saying before. Is it a bit too competitive, I wonder? I do like this idea of the parents' communication. I think that's a wonderful idea. I'm just not too keen of it being up on the screen. That's what I'm not too keen about. But maybe that is just one use of it. And some of you are putting some really good uses of it in the chat, so well done. Excellent. Let's move on, otherwise we'll be here all night. But the next article that I would like to bring your attention to was this, and this might actually bring a smile to everyone's face, because it says, should we scrap Ofsted? The pros, cons and alternatives. Now, this was really interesting indeed, because it was saying that the inspectorate has been widely criticised for demoralising teachers and stagnating school improvement. It's time to ditch the watchdog. What else would work? So I thought, this is really interesting. What is there actually? Should we actually get rid of? I like this picture, by the way. I think that would make a really good background for something. And they were talking about should we actually get rid of Ofsted, and would it actually be beneficial? It does say here that one of the practices is the fear of stagnation, is the fear of being Ofsteded, and that is sort of like really apparent in school. You know, nobody wishes to actually be Ofsteded all the time. Now, one thing that it comes in here, it says that we shouldn't really. It says scrapping Ofsted would leave us with a system that is fragmented in the information providing and placing a larger emphasis on external examinations and performance league tables. Now, please, I do not want to get into more external examinations and performance league tables. I really do not want that. But it goes on and on. But right down at the bottom of this article, there's somebody who talks, who is this guy here. And he's John McBeath, I think, Professor of Faculty of Education, University of Cambridge. Now, this is his section, I think, is brilliant. I think it's a really good section, and it's really interesting that it's been widely reported that stress, a major cause of stress among teachers, is Ofsted. Okay, and this really rings true here. The reward for getting the top grade in an Ofsted inspection is that you won't be inspected again for another few years. That says it all. It is clearly not an experience that schools look forward to nor want again. And I think that just sort of like sums it up. That, you know, people are always worried about Ofsted, always worried that it's coming. And then you get this situation that if you do well, you don't get it for a few more years rather than every year. Anyway, he goes on to say about how different schools do it in different ways, or different countries. And this section, I think, was brilliant, because what he was saying here is that in a number of countries in which we've conducted research, such as New Zealand and Hong Kong, you know, so going over to the Far East, rather than coming to inspect you, let me just get this bit and just move you up a bit. Rather than we're coming to inspect you and here are our criteria which you have to meet, the review team will ask staff and pupils what they consider a good school to be, how they evaluate their own school, the criteria they use, and their sources of evidence. Fantastic. This is where Ofsted is going wrong. This is what we should be doing. We should be saying, right, what do you think a good school should be? Let's have a look. It also goes on to say here that if a school is considered to be struggling, it will be given extra support to improve and not labelled as requires improvement. Fantastic. Wonderful idea. Wonderful. It also goes on to say that here, Ofsted focuses primarily on maths and English mathematics and what is most easily measurable. They marginalise other creative aspects of school life such as art, drama, sport, or range of student-led initiatives. That is where we're going wrong. I would be quite happy to have Ofsted, quite happy to have it if it was looking at as criteria, or saying here's the criteria, or letting schools decide about the criteria, and not just focusing on English and maths. I feel quite passionate about that. You could probably hear it in my voice. But, you know, we are educating children. We are encouraging children to learn in the schools. So what we should be looking at is this idea that children are diversifying and engaging with a huge range of not only English and maths and science, but computing and history and geography and creative subjects such as music, and celebrating what the children really want to do and what the parents consider to be a good school. You know, not just the teachers. And I know there's a parent survey at the moment, but you can guarantee that anybody who has a grudge to bear will say something, while anybody who doesn't tends to say nothing. So this idea that it's much more of a flexible approach would be a wonderful idea. So should we scrap Ofsted? Well, I don't think it's going to go, guys. I really don't. But one thing I wish it would do is maybe change slightly. So, I've just seen teaching in the classroom. I thought it was something else on Twitter. So, let's come to my last story of the night. And I like to do something a little bit light-hearted. And this is light-hearted, but not light-hearted. Because I don't know whether or not you've seen these at all. But these are something that have appeared, and you can actually buy these. These are cheating watches, would you believe? Cheating watches. And they're actually being sold online to give students an unfair advantage in exams. And what happens, there's an emergency button and you actually press it and it disables all the buttons and makes the screen go to a clock face. But it can actually hold, here, one model promises 4 gigabytes of electric storage for text files and images to be read on the screen of the watch. If the emergency button is pressed, the other buttons of the watch are disabled as the watch switches to a conventional digital clock face. Do you want to know what I really would have hoped? Just to let you know, look, they're saying that £44 or £43 that they'll be shipped in from America if you want one, guys. But I just sort of think, good grief, you know, of all the technology that we could use, then we've got something that that is used. Technology is being used detrimental here. It's interesting here that down at the bottom, currently taking his airline pilot exams, one of the many things you are not allowed to use is a watch, regardless of the make. My microbiology professor does a watch check every time we have a test. If it's an old school analog, it has to. If it's not an old school analog, it has to come off and go in the cell phone bin. Good grief. The Joint Council for Qualification, speaking on behalf of the examiner board, said schools should tell students what is and what isn't allowed in the examination room. A candidate found in possession of anything used for cheating like these watches should be reported to the awarding organisation whose examination was affected, and that could lead to disqualification. So, yet again, although we've got some really positive uses of technology, it looks like somebody has found a negative. So, that is the end. On that note, let's end the website roundup. So, many of you might have realised that over the past few weeks I've been sending out a survey asking you guys, my listeners and my viewers, what you would like from Wilson Waffling Live. And next week I've been sending out that survey for the past 3 weeks now, and I've got some responses. So next week, one of the features of the show may be in this part, but maybe in the website roundup or somewhere. I'm going to give you the results of that show. And there was something about music, and I'll come back to that next week. But anyway, let's move on. Because I don't have a segment for this, a little segment piece of music. But the next thing we're going to do is Wilson Waffles about working with TAs. Okay, working with TAs. Now, If you remember last week, we actually looked at the EEF report that actually stated how to use a TA effectively. So if you didn't see that video, then by all means go back onto YouTube, and if you look at episode 64, it's in there. Now, if you don't want to watch the whole video, then if you go to the wilsonwaffling.co.uk and click on the live show, you will see last week's episode. And what you can do is that I've separated out the links. So if you look for the website Roundup on there, I've linked it to the different stories. So you can just click on it and go straight to that page or straight to that part in the video, and then you'll be able to see it. So by all means, go there and have a look at it. Anyway, the EEF report set out 7 different ways to use a TA effectively. And they actually acknowledge that it's the most valued resource used in school, and it actually takes up about 10% of the budget, about £4 billion of education budgets. And one of the things, it talked about the different ways to use it, and what I thought I would do is share with you my 3, because I do everything in 3s, my 3 points of actually working with TAs. Now, we did have a question for this. And the question was that as a student teacher, they sometimes find it difficult to have that interaction with TAs, and they know more about the class, more about the curriculum, and they're a lot older than the trainee teacher, and sometimes, they're old enough to be their parents. And how do you get them on side in your placement? So I took that question as well, and I've added it in. So here are my 3 top tips for working with TAs. Right. Number 1, set and follow expectations. Okay, so here we go. You and the TA are going to be working together for most of the week, okay? And you're going to be interacting, and both of you need to develop trust and understanding and honesty between each other. So this is really important when you're stood in front of the children. You don't want to be undermining the TA, and the TA doesn't want to be undermining you. So you need to almost like set up this circle of trust. Okay, a bit like one of the films. I forget which film it was, but it's a bit like the circle of trust. So what I would first do is that I would definitely arrange some time to sit and talk with your TA. And whether or not this be as a trainee teacher, or your first NQT post, or experience, or a new TA working with you, find some dedicated time that you can sit down with them and have a discussion. Okay, see, it's a partnership, this, and what you need to do is ensure that you're not being overly bossy, but you are still in charge. Okay, yes, you are a trainee teacher, but you had the pedagogical knowledge. You will be the teacher eventually. So what I tended to do in the past is ask them how they work, how they like to work, what's the things that they do, and almost like take notes and engage with that conversation. It's a bit like when you're teaching children, and I'm not saying this in any patronizing way at all, I'm saying you're giving them some ownership. Okay, and you don't want to go in and say, do this, do that. That's not the way. What you want to do is say, right, how do we want to work? How do you work? How do I work? Let's try to find a compromise there. And it's almost like you need to pick up each other's strengths. What are they used to doing? What are they not used to doing? And a lot of TAs I've worked with might have said things like, I normally do the reading books in the morning. Is that all right to do? Of course it's all right to do. If that's what you do, if you're happy about doing it, then that's absolutely fine. And you need to build up this trust, but I also think you need to encourage both people to be extremely honest. And remember, yes, you're in charge. You have that responsibility. It's on your head. However, what you must ensure is that they understand that as well. And, if you're not being helpful, then they should tell you. But just the same as that, if they're not being helpful, then you should tell them as well. And I think that's the difficulty when you're training. And because you're only going to be there in a small amount of time and then move on. But definitely try to build up this relationship. And take an active interest in what they're doing. You know, there's nothing better than when your TA comes in the morning and you know that they've been out the night before to watch a theatre. You say, oh, how was last night? Was it good? I really liked that film. Have you seen this before? And almost like, don't treat them as sort of like somebody who works in your classroom. Treat them as a person, part of the team, that you're a team working together. Now, following on from that, my next key points is to almost like establish routines. And one thing that I think is really important is that you need to include the teacher assistant or any adult support in with everything that you do. And, you know, when I was training to be a teacher, and I think we still do, we have like a TA link sheet and we sort of like give that to the teacher. And it's almost like we've got more information on our plans and we, you know, we can't give that to them. And my view is to actually sort of like think, right, you can actually have everything that I've got. So it's a bit like when I was teaching, I didn't just give them a TA link sheet, I gave them my planning. There was nothing hidden there and it was quite open, transparent. Things like, you know, routines like when are you going to give TAs resources that need to be photocopied? When are you going to ask them, if you're going to ask them to mark books or if that's allowed in your school, to always make sure that it's at the same time. And remember, if you want something photocopied or anything like that, if that's what happens in your school, then make sure you give it in plenty of time. Make sure there's a post-it on it saying how many, the date that it's needed by. Here you go. TAs, I think, are one of the most organized people that I know. And I think you can work really well with them if you have that organization as well. You know, and what they tend to do, which is really good for TAs, I think, is that they find little pockets of time that they can actually use. So if you're well organized and you support them and say, when you got a moment, this needs to be done for next Tuesday, I've put a post-it on it, then they'll be very happy with that and sort of like be able to interact. Also, keep them in the loop. You know, I know things change at last minute, but if you have wind of things, then make sure that you let them know. And changing things at the last minute should be an exception rather than a rule, if that makes sense. You know, keep them informed and let them know what's happening. Finally, one thing I would say about working with a TA is that I always present them with some sort of responsibility. I think it's really important that they have ownership over things. And when you sort of like start working with them, if you're a trainee, what you should be saying is that what do you normally do? What do you do? Is this what you do? Etc. etc. When you get your own TA and you're an NQT post, then you need to sit down with your TA and say, right, this is what I'm going to be responsible for. This is what you're going to be responsible for. And I think that gives them ownership. That allows them to sort of like work also like with autonomy on certain things. I always was responsible when I was in class. I was always responsible for discipline. That was my thing, that I never expected a TA to tell a child off, because in my eyes, the TA had to work with that child and, you know, go back and support them. So I was always bad cop, while they were always good cop. And I think anything like that, they would report to me and I would, or send the children to me and I would deal with it. It was never something like, if you don't do that again, I'll send you to Mr. Wilson. That was never, I was never undermining my TA. We were a partnership. The other thing that I like to give, if a child was disrespectful to my TA, then number one, they always had to apologise no matter what, you know. And number two, I always back the TA to 100%. Always. If there was something that needed to be discussed, then that was always done out away from the situation, you know, like the next day or the day after. As well as that, I would give, you know, TAs are very good at being autonomous about things. So things like, you know, my TA would be in charge of the reading books, and they would develop their own systems for that. They would develop their own systems, say, for collecting trip money and things like that. And I was quite happy to hand that over and just say, right, this is what I want when I want it. And then that was it, how they used to do it. was up to them. There was a list once that was handed out to schools about the 25 top tips or 25 jobs that teachers weren't allowed to do, and one of them was putting up displays. And I must admit, I either told my TA exactly what I wanted on the display, or I let her do it. And if I let her do it, then I made no comment apart from it was brilliant. Even if I didn't like it, then she had put it up, she was happy with it, and that was fine. So the last thing I would say, and it's not one of my 3 top tips, it's just a little bit to go on the end. Please remember that all TAs are different and all TAs work differently. And what you need to do is really establish early on what the role of the TA is in your classroom. What are they responsible for? You know, are they working with an individual child? Are they working with small groups? They used to be called non-teaching assistants or teacher assistants, and that was when they were purely sort of like photocopiers. But now their role has changed and they're there to actually support the teaching. So, you know, use it, move them around, see which group they're happy, get them on courses, interact with them. Remember, you are a team at the end of the day, and the most important thing is that you both have the same goal in mind, and that is to progress the children and to progress the children in their learning, and probably to make it enjoyable. So I hope that has given you some quick tips for working with your TA. Here's a little new segment cut. I like this one.
Music and chat
Across the internet on Wilson Waffling Radio.
Music and chat
Across the internet on Wilson Waffling Radio.
Music and chat.
There you go. That was just a little quick music and chat across the internet on Wilson Waffling Radio. Right, we are now coming to the end. We're coming to the end. And just to finish off, we are going to have a bit of... I'm going to check my phone in a second. We're going to have a bit of Ask Waffling Wilson. Here we go.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is...
Ask Waffling Wilson.
Please note, the new number is...
Ask Waffling Wilson.
Hello?
Hello? Hello? Right, this is when I go across my phone. Here's my phone. And I actually worry about this every time, because I actually advertise this in the newsletter that I send out as personal questions, and I'm often worried about what sort of personal questions are going to arrive here. So here we go. There's another TA question here, which is good. What if a TA is always working with a small group of low ability and they don't want to move away from that group? Really good question. Really good question. Now, that depends whose classroom it is and whose TA it is. So, for example, when I was a trainee teacher and I was going into the class, if that was happening, then I know that I'm not happy with that, but I wouldn't change it. I might ask them if they would like to work with a different group, but if they said, no, I'm quite happy here, then I would actually leave that there and I would move around for those 5 or 9 weeks. For me, in that situation, that TA is happy working with the teacher, and that's what it does. That's what the teacher's asked her or him to do. And to move him or her in that position would not be fair. I think when you get your own TA, I think that is the time that you go back over those points and create that development and decide what you want to do. And if you want your TA to move around like I did, then it might be that you need to give them some training or sit them down and encourage them to go on training supported by the school and CPD, or go through the work with them carefully to build their confidence. Because remember, they're doing a great job for not a great amount of money. But in a situation of trainee teacher, then I'm sorry, there's not much you can do about it, because your relationship, the TA's relationship, is with the class teacher and not with you. But as you get your own, then you can start developing that. So, let's see. There was another question, but I don't understand it. It says Crocs or Birkenstocks. Crocs or Birkenstocks? What on earth are they? Crocs are like alligators. I know what Crocs are. Oh, they're shoes. Are Crocs shoes? What are Birkenstocks? Well, as Birkenstock sandals. Is that what it is? They're shoes. So I'm looking down here because my phone's down here, guys. Crocs are shoes, and so are Birkenstocks. Well, do you know, I never knew that. I learned something new every week on Wilson Waffling. So, Crocs or Birkenstocks? Well, I don't know. I don't like those Crocs shoes at all. So I'm afraid if I had to wear anything, I'm afraid it would be sandals. But I'm not very keen on sandals. I don't like getting my feet out. It's a bit disgusting. So, you know, in summer I tend to wear shorts, but then I tend to wear trainer socks and trainers. Does that sound a bit weird? Or pumps. I don't quite like wearing pumps, you know. So I used to wear, when I was growing up, I used to wear basketball boots. I used to love basketball boots. You don't get them around that much now, but definitely sandals then, if that's what Birkenstocks are. But I thought it meant Crocs as in alligators. You know, sometimes I just need to control myself on this show, because I really have no idea. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. I hope you've got something from it. Let's just see what else I've got to say. So remember next week's show, we're going to be talking about homework, which will be an interesting topic. So if you have any questions, then there will be a little survey available on the live page on wilsonwaffling.co.uk, so you can ask comments there, or you can ask them via Ask Wilson Waffling, or if you would like to ask purely random questions like Crocs or Birkenstocks, then by all means ask me my favourite book, my favourite film, or anything personal to me, then by all means ask away. If I don't like it, I won't answer it, so don't worry. Remember, you can keep up to date with all my tweets and my YouTube videos and everything like that by either going along to wilsonwaffling.co.uk or subscribing to me on YouTube. And remember, you can watch this show again tomorrow and for the rest of the week once I've uploaded it. I hope you've enjoyed episode 65. Please remember that you can always listen to my radio that streams 24/7, so you can go along to wilsonwaffling.co.uk, and up in the top right hand corner there's a little tab that says Wilson Waffling Radio, and if you click on there you can see what's playing. Shall we see what's playing at the present moment in time? Let's just have a look. Here's Wilson Waffling Radio. Here's what's playing at the moment. So here it is. So at the present moment in time, we're listening to Robbie Williams' She's the One. That's what we're actually listening to at the moment. And remember that you can go, if you go along to there, you can also put in song requests if you want a song request, and you can also listen to my other show. So on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock on Radio YSJ, I do a cheesy pop music tomorrow night at 8. Friday night is musical night, and Sunday night we do a snuggle show, a nice relaxing music for you to listen to. So I hope you've enjoyed episode 65. We're well over the 50, so we're well on our way to 100. Hopefully next week I'll give you some survey results. So thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to Lottie and Vicky and Joe for being in the chat. Really do appreciate that. It's lovely to see and hear you there. Thank you to everybody who's watching this on the recording. Please make sure you come and have a chat or put your comments in the forums on wilsonwaffling.co.uk. Until then, guys, it's exactly an hour just gone. So until next time, let me just get this set up. Until next time, consider yourself waffled. Catch you later. Bye, guys.